You're listening to the Like and Follow podcast presented by Milkbar Digital.
Welcome to Like and Follow, a podcast exploring social media and digital marketing presented by Milkbar Digital. I'm Ben and I'll be your host for this inaugural episode of Like and Follow. Each episode you'll be joined by some of the great, talented, smart people here at Milkbar to take you through all things social. And what better way to start the podcast than with the director of Milkbar Digital, Sam Sydney. Welcome.
Thanks, Ben. Quite an intro.
I do what I can with intros. So let's talk about what this episode is really all about. And it's kind of an introduction to what Milkbar Digital is. Mm-hmm. And, you know, being the director, I suppose you would know the most out of everyone about what Milkbar is.
Maybe.
Well, I would hope so at least. So before we get into what we do here at Milkbar, why don't you take us back to where you got your start? So how did you get your start in, say, digital media and social media?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I guess I certainly don't want this episode to sound too salesy, but as some background, Milkbar Digital is a boutique social media agency here. We're located in Paran and we service pretty much, I guess, food, fashion and lifestyle brands. Mm-hmm. And we deliver end-to-end social media marketing services. What that means is that we get the chance to work with a lot of really exciting brands, which is, I guess, I think a theme that's been throughout my career. I feel like I'm really privileged to have worked with some really cool businesses and cool brands. How did I get my start, to answer your question?
Yeah, so take us back to before you'd even thought of Milkbar as a concept.
Okay, so I guess I've always been a little bit interested in business. We could go right back to the beginning, to my first business, which I did when I was 6 years old. 6?
I did not know that we had a prodigy as our director.
I wouldn't say selling flowers shaped like popcorn shaped like flowers at a craft market is all that
prodigious?
Prodigious, yeah.
I think that's the term. Correct us if we're wrong, please.
But that was my first, I guess, taste of trying to be an entrepreneur.
Right.
And from there, obviously, I went through school. I really loved school. I was a bit of a nerdburger.
I mean, I was too. It's okay.
And then after school, I went to uni, studied visual arts and journalism. So not marketing. I don't come from a marketing like uni degree or anything. And while I was at uni, I started an online store selling pre-loved clothing on eBay.
Okay.
And I sort of generated enough cash, I guess, from that to survive on for a couple of years. Mm-hmm. And that sort of taught me the power, I suppose, of social media. It was really, really early days of social media. So it was a lot of MySpace and a lot of, I guess, really early day Facebook, and a lot of blogging and a lot of fashion online communities that don't really, I guess, exist now. Mm-hmm. It was also the beginning of the fashion blogger, and I suppose the original digital influencer. And so I learned a lot about how to market a product online in, I guess, a really lo-fi kind of bootstrapped way through, I guess, the power of really great content and really great inspirational influencers. Back then it was all like Diaryland and LiveJournal, sort of blogging platforms, like very different, I guess, to what we have these days.
Yeah.
And there was no such thing as Instagram, that's for sure. And there was no such thing as paid social media advertising, which is, I guess, the predominant service that we offer these days. So I guess I learned a lot about marketing that way. And then from there, I got my first, I suppose, full-time job, which was with Pedestrian TV. And I got to look after the brand Sports Girl. Mm-hmm. And then I've sort of went to Priceline after that, Priceline Pharmacy. So again, working in like a pretty big team. And from there, I started Milkbar.
Okay. So
that was a really long story, I'm sorry.
No, it's a really good story. I just want to take it back to the online store stuff. Do you find that in those early days of the internet, there wasn't really a guide on how to do it and how to do it well? You were kind of just making up as you were going along.
Yeah.
How do you think that's influenced what you do now?
I guess it was just really about being creative and seeing what other people were doing, being influenced by, I guess, other online stores and other eBay sellers. And I think it was just a really good grounding in general for how to make content that made you stand out from the crowd, which I think is definitely something an ethos that still applies to what we do.
I think that's a really important point to make, is that to make anything work online, you need to be different, or I feel like you need to show something that people want to be interested in.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like social media, especially at the moment these days, is so saturated and there's so much noise out there. So it is a lot of what we do is about being challenged creatively to cut through that noise and make something that's, I guess, really sticks with an audience.
Yeah. So now that we've sort of got the background of where you come from, how did Milkbar Digital come about?
It was a little bit by accident, I suppose.
It's always the best way.
Definitely.
Everything comes by accident.
The fact that my email address is hello@Milkbar Digital and not Sam@Milkbar Digital, I think implies that I always thought I was just going to be a one-man show.
Right, okay.
So it started because I guess I felt like I'd learnt so much from the roles I've been so lucky to have. And I really wanted the opportunity to, I guess, take some of that knowledge and some of those learnings and apply them to maybe some smaller businesses and ones where perhaps I would be able to have that more tangible impact. When you work for a big company, sometimes it does feel like you're quite a small cog in is that a small cog in a big wheel, or?
I think that works.
Yeah, I'm so bad with those kinds of analogies. I don't even know why I set myself up to try and use them. That sort of, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you mean. You're part of a bigger machine rather than being something that's really driving.
Exactly, and I really loved the idea of taking some of those learnings that you can get when you have, big marketing budgets and big ideas that can, I guess you have the budget to bring them to fruition. And I wanted to see if I could work with some smaller businesses and sort of bring that experience to that.
Right.
And so then I started reaching out to some brands that I thought I could help.
What were those conversations like? Did you feel at any point that you were being the annoying little, can I help? Or
Yeah, I still feel like that.
Okay, that's good. So that never really goes away, I suppose.
No. I think we've certainly refined our sales process over the last few years.
Yeah, no.
But at the beginning, I would troll through Seek to see who was looking for a social media
Right, okay.
coordinator or something, and I'd reach out and just say, hey, have you ever thought of going with an agency instead? I'm looking for work. And I was pretty honest. I would tell the brands that I was reaching out to, I'm just getting started.
Yeah.
I really think that we could be a good fit, so just give me a go. And I was lucky to have a couple of clients who came on board who were willing to give us a go.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess we got pretty busy. I started getting more work than I knew what to do with, and so started hiring. First of all, we got some interns in, and then after that, we started to grow the team. So that's sort of gone from there.
So what are the things that you think set Milkbar apart from other sort of similar agencies?
I think that, a couple of things. I think, and again, without trying to sound too salesy, I think what sets us apart is that, what we've been told by brands who enjoy working with us is that we're good at making beautiful content. Mm-hmm. We're good at making things that look gorgeous, the photography, the videos, the graphic design. But what makes us special is that we can back that up then with a really sophisticated, super optimized paid media strategy that runs underneath it. So I'm talking about all of the A/B testing and the ads and all the crazy shit that goes on in Ads Manager. I think that's where we can really shine, because it's one thing to be able to be, creating great content, but then it's another thing to be able to actually getting it out into the universe and getting a customer to take an action, whether that be going to one of our restaurant clients or making a purchase online. And I think that kind of is what ties all our work up together in a nice bow.
Right. So what do you think, staying on Milkbar, what do you think the most important lessons that you've learnt from running a company are?
Probably nothing to do with, I guess, the day-to-day grind of what we do in terms of service. I suppose the the biggest lessons I've learned would be, and God, there's so many, would probably be more around team building, I suppose.
Right.
One of the biggest, I guess, things we try to do is we try to recruit based on not just skill set, but also cultural fit, personality. Because it's one of the things I always like to think is that there's a lot you can teach a lot of technical work if the person's willing to learn it, but what you can't teach is a lot of that passion and creativity and enthusiasm.
Yeah.
So I think that's sort of, they're the things that I really look for and drive in people when we're recruiting. And I think by building a really special team, which I think we definitely have one, I think that's where you kind of make a successful business.
And what do you think are some of the things that businesses can learn from social media? What sort of strategies do you think smaller businesses could implement?
I think probably just going back to what I said before, that social media isn't just about taking great photos and posting them to Instagram, but that there actually needs to have a really clear strategy from the get-go in order for it to be effective. And I think businesses also, one of the most common things that you hear from businesses is that, I'm gonna do social media because I know I have to. But they don't really think about what their core objectives are.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the areas that I like to work with businesses to try and, I guess, identify, all right, let's set some actual objectives, like what is our goal at the end of the day. And that makes it easier when you're trying to make decisions later in terms of, what photos are we going to run, what type of ad campaigns are we going to do. It all comes back to that original objective. And I think the other thing is making that objective really measurable. So putting into place, okay, so if the goal is to increase revenue for you, if you're an online store, how are we going to actually measure that? So let's measure it on return on ad spend, or the number of conversions, or are we going to just try and increase the average basket size? I think there's a lot of things like that small businesses, irregardless of budget size, can use to their advantage.
Yeah. Do you think there is a need for a big budget when it comes to social media marketing?
No, definitely not. I think that's what is really great about this space, is that it's probably the most affordable, I suppose, marketing that you can do, besides, I guess, word of mouth, or I don't know, I guess there are organic marketing strategies, but I think social media, if you compare it to much more traditional above the line marketing like TV or radio or print, social is incredibly affordable. So yeah, I don't think you need a big budget.
Okay. So do you think there's a one-size-fits-all approach that you need to take with social media?
No, I definitely not. There's certainly, I guess, a process, like a very top-line process that we would go through with the majority of our clients. And I mean, a lot of it's common sense when you really break it down, but it is still, a strong start, or a good way, a good launch pad for your social media. But I guess initially we'd start off with kind of what I just said before about identifying objectives, identifying who your target audiences are. We then go into kind of, I guess, a creation sort of phase, which would be, I guess, looking at your content pillars and what they're going to be, creating the right content to meet those pillars to, I guess, fall in line with your objectives. Then it would be about distributing the content, working out, I guess, and again, working out which social channels are right for your business, and then amplifying it through paid strategies, and then analysis, which is kind of, I guess, brings it all back to the very beginning. So it's analysing the results, analysing your data, looking at trends, and working out whether or not you're meeting your objectives.
Right.
So whilst it's not everyone has the same content pillars or the same
of course.
ad strategy, I think most brands would benefit from that overall process.
Have you found that there are any sort of objectives that keep coming back in, like, that from say
Money?
broad rate?
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was getting into.
Yeah. At the end of the day, we're all running businesses, so I think everyone's objective is always going to be dollars in the bank at the end of the day, but what that actually means can vary, whether it's more customers in your restaurant, more in-store traffic, or sales in bricks and mortar stores,
Yeah.
or more online sales. I think, the common theme is everyone wants to make money.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Well, I think that sort of about wraps up everything that I think we can talk about. We're definitely going to get through a whole bunch of this.
That's what the whole show's for, though,
Yeah.
isn't it? That's where we're going to get stuck into these topics in more detail.
Exactly. So there is going to be heaps more of this minute details explained ad nauseum to come. But I want to ask you before we finish up, what do you see as next for Milkbar? Where do you think Milkbar Digital is heading?
I think building on the momentum that we've got, we're still a very young business. We've only been in business for coming up to 4 years now. So I think just taking what we've learnt, refining it, getting better at everything that we're doing at the moment, and hopefully winning some more accounts that can get the whole team really excited and pushing themselves. So I think just kind of doing what we're doing at the moment, but hopefully doing it bigger and better.
Yeah, well, I have heard rumours of VR coming soon, but
I just want to get a console.
well, thank you for joining me, Sam. I really
course.
appreciate you taking the time. So if you out there, you're looking, or if you're watching or you're listening and you think that your business might need a little bit of a leg up in social media or digital marketing, give us a buzz. Honestly, hello@milkbardigital.com.au. You'll get right to the top. You're not going to get much better than that.
Awesome. Thank you.
That's all
Thanks.
right. Stay tuned for more Like and Follow.